Hello and welcome to round number one. Our hand, we're on the play by the way. Our hand is pretty good. We are lacking a green bounce land, but that's really all we're lacking. So I'm going to keep. And I will use a gemstone mine counter on turn one to get that amulet out there so that if we do draw that bounce land, we can cast Azusa and then Titan on 3. So we'll go ahead and get that out there and see what our opponent's up to. Hopefully not anything discard oriented. I guess even if we lose our Azusa, we could pact for it at some point, but that's unlikely to be something that we're going to want to do. All right, explore. Kind of sucks to bog this early, but against what is apparently Shadow, most likely Grixis Shadow. But we'll at least bog away this Wraith and explore here again using another amulet, or excuse me, using another gemstone mine counter, unfortunately, but we'll do what we got to do. And there's a growth chamber, so that's exactly what we needed. I would love to bounce this mine, but then I don't have the growth chamber anymore. I don't have anything to do with this 2 mana, so there's really no reason for me to play this. If I had another bounce land, I would definitely either bounce the mine or the bog here. Let's see here. I guess if I don't play the bounce land, I can't Titan next turn. If I do play the bounce land and then I draw additional bounce land, I can Titan. Well, it has to be green. It couldn't be Boros Garrison, I guess I should say. So there's any consideration at all for playing this bounce land, since otherwise next turn I'll only have 5 mana. Since we would have 4, spend 3 of it on the Azusa, 1, and then another 4 from the 2 land plays. So there's some temptation to play this. I think I'm just going to take it slower and wait here rather than play this growth chamber. It is close though. Opponent's about that opt life. Opt is now legal on Magic Online. I'm recording this just after that change has been made. So even though Ixalan is not yet released, the legality changes have happened, so you can play reprints on Magic Online at the moment. So that'll be 4 cards in the yard for our opponents. They could delve a Tasigur here by full casting, or by using all their mana rather, but they cannot do so with an Angler. They're 1 short unless they have another Street Wraith. Just one moment here. All right, sorry about that. All right, so there's a Death Shadow. We did draw the additional land, so if I had played it the other way, we would be tightening this turn, and now we will not be. I guess, what am I going to be bouncing here? Do I actually want to bounce this bog? At this point, it's probably better than keeping the gemstone mine around. So I'm going to float the bog mana. And the reason I can bounce this bog now, of course, is because I've drawn an additional chamber. Otherwise, I would need to repeatedly bounce this chamber a bunch. We'll keep the gemstone of mine around for now. Cast this Azusa, and then I can make 2 mana and 2 mana with this, only to have 5 mana though, unfortunately. So, we're just gonna rebog here. And then pass back. And even if my opponent deals with this Azusa now, I'll be on turn 4 Titan. I could play another land here, but it doesn't do me any good. I mean, I can bounce another land so that if my Amulet is dealt with, I'm still Titaning next turn. I will have significantly less mana. If we assume, like, Azusa is going to live and Amulet's going to live, I'm going to have a ton of mana next turn. But I might actually just take the conservative line, bounce Gemstone Mine, and then even if our Amulet is dealt with, even if our Azusa is dealt with, I guess it's more the Amulet we're worried about, right? If my Amulet's dealt with, I don't get to Titan until another turn. So yeah, you know what? With 2 actual Titans in my hands, I'm going to take the conservative line here. Normally you would be really interested in keeping a bounce land in your hand, especially when you have Azusa and Amulet, but it shouldn't be too hard for my opponent to like have Kolaghan's Command this turn and just like blow both of these, and then I would be kind of set pretty far back. But this way I can just slam a Titan next turn. Main deck, my opponent should have no way to like counter that. I'll get the trigger and be in a pretty great spot from there. I don't even have to worry about getting a Taliaferro West either at this point, considering the Summon Respect and additional prime time I have. If my opponent starts casting some discard spells, though, I might get to the point where that first Titan I want to grab a Taliaferro West. Alright, so they're just going to push my Azusa. So I still would have got to Titan. The good news about this is that I can definitely haste the Titan if I want to, but we are against Shadow, so there's some question about whether or not that's correct. I won't kill my opponent since I can't double strike the Titan, and since I don't have 2 amulets, I can't do anything crazy like double Titan. So I guess if I had left the bounce in my hand, we could like pact for Azusa to net some mana, but that wouldn't be enough anyway, really. Yep, I'm just gonna Titan and grab like Colony Garden, Radiant Fountain. Just take it easy. My opponent can't have Terminate, but then I just have a million more Titans already, so I don't need to grab like Taliaferro West here. Let me make sure there wasn't something I wasn't thinking about that would help more. I mean, I can grab Ghost Quarter in case my opponent produces another basic. I don't think I need to do that quite yet. I've already played a land for turn, so I can't like rebog. I could Vesuva the Bog. That might be better than Radiant Fountain. Vesuva the Bog makes it less likely they're able to play another threat. Sure, so like Vesuva Colony Garden. I mean, I could also grab like Grove to start shrinking this, but I'm just going to kill them before that. Next turn I should be able to attack with 2 Titans and get a little crazy, so we really just want to not die this turn cycle. Bog you, we get a plant, put these on the stack. At this point I'll just F6. So obviously we could have attacked there without our opponent stopping us. I just wasn't sure I wanted to put my opponent to 1 in case they had like Battle Rage or additional Death Shadows in their hand or whatever else. There's an additional Death Shadow. Alright. Oh. Second Amulet. That's pretty great. So now I can just cast a haste both of these Titans in case they also have like Terminate. I guess that really shouldn't matter because I'm double striking multiple anyway, but whatever. I guess we'll go over the top. I guess this could get stubbed. That would be fine though, obviously. So sure, second Amulet. Why not? So we can have some real fun here. Again, it doesn't really matter. I guess I can set up for the double striking later. This next one, I'm gonna grab the Boros Garrison and Slayer's Stronghold. Oh, I guess I don't have the Vesuva in my deck, so I'm only gonna be able to double strike 2 of them, but that's fine. So we'll just grab these to set up. It really doesn't matter. I'm probably just wasting clock here thinking about it. Untap this, float some mana, untap it again. Bounce the Bog and the Vesuva, I guess. I guess I want to float these just to have the extra white and red. It's the easiest way to do it. Use the green, 1 white and 1 red. Play another Titan. Get Boros Garrison, Slayers. Make sure I stack those carefully. So for anyone who's thinking about playing this deck on Magic Online and maybe not familiar with doing so on Magic Online, when you have 2 amulets, it gets kind of weird because it auto stacks your amulet triggers, so you have to be really careful. Conveniently, this is how we would want them stacked, so I'm going to put this on the bottom, and then it's just going to auto stack those. But if you don't click on this, if you start clicking on the amulet triggers first, it'll let you stack these first and not auto stack these. So if it's in the other order, like you need the Boros Garrison to untap first. So if it's in the other order where Boros Garrison is under the Slayer Stronghold, then you have to click the Slayer Stronghold ones to put them on the stack first. Then you can click this, and then these will go on the stack. Otherwise, you get screwed and your Slayer Stronghold on top. I guess it wouldn't actually matter in this spot because I have floating red-white, but most of the time you won't have that luxury. So okay, so against Shadow, I've talked about it a little bit in the deck tech video. We have this sideboarding plan of like taking out our amulets and putting in like a lot of these, you know, mid-rangey kind of rampy threats. Against Shadow, I do kind of like this plan, but there is some additional risk against Shadow, whereas there's not really that risk against something like Jund or Abzan or whatever other deck you might be interested, blue-white, whatever deck you're interested in kind of making this sideboard plan in that they can have a really aggressive beatdown draw. There is some risk to taking amulets out here, and it's possible that this matchup, it's really not correct to do that, and then I just love this sideboard plan too much, and I try to go for it too often. Urkthar might also be included here, we'll see. But it might be possible that I need to leave some number of amulets just because they can have an aggressive draw. The problem is that I just don't think that's going to work out very often. I think they're just too easily able to deal with amulets via discard, stubs, or... I mean, we can usually play around stubs for amulet, but if you have it in your opener. But discard if you have it in your opener, stub if you draw it late, Kozilek's Return, or excuse me, not Kozilek's Return. Kolaghan's Command if you resolve it but don't get to abuse it until they have, you know, 3 mana to blow it up. I just feel like they're going to be really well prepared for it. This pact we also don't need. Relics are great here. So there's a lot I want here, and I spent a lot of time talking about that. So let's see here. I'm going to cut the Ghost Quarter. They don't have any utility lands, since I only have 1 Ghost Quarter. I'm not going to be able to repeat that enough. I don't mind shaving a Summoner's Pact here because of stub particularly, but I don't want to shave any more than that. I'm going to leave the Cavern in case they have Disdainful Stroke. I like both the explosives. The ballista can be a good tutor target since our opponent will obviously be hemorrhaging their life total quite often. Oh, and then stirrings. I might actually just want to shave 2 stirrings and leave. Actually, you know, we'll do the Rurkthar instead of the Summoner's Pact. I kind of want to give him a good go in this matchup. The Rurkthar is, I mentioned it already, but the Rurkthar is like my least favorite card in this particular 75. I'm not sure that I will want to keep it in the future. I just don't have anything different kind of creature that I really want to jam in that slot. Plus, there's a lot of Storm online, so I don't hate having it for that reason either. But this hand is, I think, deceptively good against Death Shadow. We have not just the card Death Shadow, but the deck. We have Grove, which is good against specifically the card Death Shadow, as we can just give our opponent a bunch of life along the way. Relic, which is very good against their deck, and Dismember. I guess the one issue with this hand is that, like, obviously at turn 1, Inquisition will already make our hand really light on action. Taking this Relic would be a huge bummer, but I think this is definitely a keep. This hand obviously also has the potential to draw one of our millions of fatties that we sided in, and as a reminder, our openers don't need to be particularly explosive with the way that we've boarded. Yeah, so we're just going to give them a life here and cast this Relic. It's important not to forget to give them the life as much as you can off this Grove, which I've certainly done before. We're not usually going to be chip-shotting them to death, and making Death Shadow smaller and smaller is certainly powerful. Opponent might stub this. It's possible I should have played around stub, but I didn't. Stub's typically like pretty reasonable against us as it is, so maybe, you know, maybe I want to incentivize them trading stub here, but with my hand the way it is, I probably don't. The problem is that it's so important to get Relic going early, especially against this deck. I mean, they can be like Tassigering as easily as turn 2, especially with a start like this, you know, where they're looking to hold up something like Thought Scour. So I think I have to jam the Relic here, even though I have the Dismember though, because they're not gonna, they're unlikely to. Well, I guess they could have like Tassiger plus stop, and that would be really bad. If they're like fetch Thought Scour. Yeah, I guess all they have to have at that point is fetch Thought Scour land. So yeah, I probably do have to lead on Relic. Hornet Queen, sure. So without an amulet, how are we going to do this? So I'm going to have to get Taliaferro West into play and Growth Chamber into play, and then bounce the Taliaferro West with the Gruul Turf after floating a blue so that I can transmute it. That's the only way I'm going to get to transmute this anytime soon, unless I draw Gemstone Mine. However, I want to be able to activate Grove as much as I can, and if I go like Growth Chamber now in case I draw Gemstone Mine, then I have to bounce this and then potentially play Gemstone Mine next turn. I guess then I would have to play, even if I didn't draw Gemstone Mine, I would have to play this next. So I guess I just want to play Taliaferro West first. Then I'm bouncing this next turn anyway, and then bouncing this next turn anyway. So I'm definitely missing a bunch of Grove turns regardless of how I do it, I guess. So I guess they could have Fulminator too. Fulminator's less common nowadays, though. Been a lot more Ceremonious Rejection. But people might be shifting because of... I guess people did shift a little bit because of Scape Shift, so there might be more Fulminators. Maybe that's more incentive to just go to Taliaferro West there. Obviously, if we get Fulminated here, we're like very far behind. Liliana of the Veil would also be a huge hassle here. Just an angler. But, okay, I was going to say it looks like they left up stub, but not at the moment. So, Tireless Trekker's sweet draw. I'm going to kill this angler since I can sort of keep the Death Shadow in check for now. Definitely going to replay the Grove and take some time off from this whole Taliaferro West plan. Obviously, I want to get Taliaferro West in play, float the mana, bounce with the Gruul Turf so that I can transmute it. But for now, I'm going to let that go so that I can continue to shrink this. And I'm definitely dismembering this now. If only I could Radiant Fountain my opponent. Target player gains 2 life. That'd be sweet. I could also draw another Grove. That would be pretty insane to be able to double Grove this Death Shadow every turn. Alright, so they do have another shock land. At least it wasn't fetch shock, and if they did have fetch, they probably would have fetch shock, so they might be running out of lands here. That's a bummer for me. Probably I'm just going to bail on the Sun Home. Even though it's an untapped land. Yeah, I'm just going to bail on the Sun Home. Probably still play this tracker and get a clue. And move on with my life here. Summoner's Pact. So I could grab Azusa. My opponent's on no cards. If I grab Azusa, that gives me a couple benefits. It lets me ramp a whole bunch, which gets me closer to this Hornet Queen. It also sets up better for the tracker. But then next turn I have to pay for the Pact, obviously. I haven't played any lands yet. So we'll go up to 6 mana. So if I leave an untapped land in my hand at the end of all of it, I could still Tracker next turn, but then only if my Azusa was alive could I Tracker and get a clue. I kind of like the Azusa plan, but Tireless Tracker get a clue is probably fine. Next turn I could even grab a Thragtusk. Pressures my opponent to minus their Lily, and then I'll like get a Thragtusk, and they'll need to like minus their Lily, and then I'll still have the Beast. Yeah, I guess that's fine. Rather than like use my Pact on developing my mana, I'll just like keep casting threats. No need to develop my mana if I can already cast threats. And I guess I'll give up on bouncing this Taliaferro West situation. I don't really need to worry about that. I'll either, if I don't draw another blue land, then so be it. Like, we have other threats to cast anyway, plus stuff to use our mana on. So opponent drew a fetch land there. That's not great for me, interestingly enough. So yeah, we're gonna go with the same plan. I'm gonna gain my opponent a life. Gonna Summoner's Pact for a Thragtusk. Next turn we'll pay for it. I guess we lose to top deck Fulminator Mage. That would also just be, you know, the way it is, I guess. I still think this is right. I guess I could grab Colossus, but they just minus anyway, so that doesn't make any sense, yeah. If I still had something alive, I guess I would grab Colossus here, but Tusk it up. Play Grove. Shrink that. Play Tusk. So hopefully they don't draw another Shockland or Street Wraith. Thought Scour's not bad. Since they have plenty of mana, it sets up well. To go for the minus, I wonder if they drew another Liliana. That would be pretty brutal. Nope, just a fetch land. Also not bad. I wonder why they minus Lily then if they drew a fetch land. Oh, they don't have another... That's why. They don't have another shock land. They only have the basics left. I'm pretty sure I don't block because it's possible... Well, A, this thing's just going to get bigger in the future most likely. Although... It's also possible it just shrinks and I get to actually trade. So either it gets bigger and I want to block later, or it doesn't. Gonna need to play a tap land this turn, unfortunately, so I'm still not gonna be able to sack this clue. Or it doesn't, and then I can trade with it, is where I was going with that. Sorry, I got kind of sidetracked by drawing these cards. I guess at this point I'd rather just have another bounce land, I think. All the blue I need, this multiple untapped lands already. I'm going to transmute this. I'll just take the Gemstone Mine. Just don't really see. I mean, there's no amulets in my deck, so obviously bounce lands mean more land plays throughout the course of the game without having to draw more lands, but I'm not really worried about that at this point. Could Radiant Fountain if I'm like real scared of Battle Rage so that I don't have to block this. Now that I have the Gemstone Mine, I'm still able to Hornet Queen next turn. I guess that makes me feel a little better. So that's the extra reason to take the Gemstone Mine. I'm definitely not attacking, though, since that defeats that purpose. But I'm also kind of not interested in blocking, since there's the potential to trade. However, I'm sort of playing with fire in that they could just draw Fatal Push, obviously. Opt into Scour. Just out of curiosity, did they? They did top that, okay. I would die to like Street Wraith Battle Rage, but I mean maybe I just block anyway because I'm following up with Hornet Queen next turn, like nah. Maybe I'm just not supposed to play around Battle Rage because it's way less common in Grixis lists anyway. But if I can play around it, I'd like to. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, though. We'll see. Like, this is kind of the point where I'm saying that, like, maybe I shouldn't be, right? Because we could be attacking with this beast since we have all these Death Touch guys. And then our opponent's just dead in the air next turn. No, they're not. But they would be dead. Yeah, they would block this, not be dead in the air. So yeah, you know what? We're not doing it. If it's not a 2-turn clock anyway, I might as well just leave it back for more toughness if I'm really worried. Although it doesn't even get trample right now. They have to grow it again. Since we were able to shrink it once more. When it doesn't even attack. I guess I could have not gained my opponent a life last turn, and then it would have been a 2-turn clock. I didn't mention that. But again, I'm like kind of paranoid about like letting this grow too much. But allowing my opponent to draw a million cards is not great either. I probably just 2-turn them in the air with bees here. And then have like as much toughness on the ground as I can have. Obviously, they can have removal here. That'll screw me up a little bit, but I'll be going wide next turn anyway, so. I can also Radiant Fountain again this turn, hopefully. All right, Shadow is bigger. I guess I want to go Tracker. No, how do I want to do this? I guess I want to go Azusa first. It's kind of a weird sequence. I guess I'm just not going to gain my opponent any life. At this point in the game, even though they have Shadow, which is kind of weird. Guess they all generate triggers now, so it doesn't matter. Plus, they would have already killed my Zeus if they were going to. I think I actually play this just for another clue. No, I have a million clues already. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, I have more mana next turn. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it. If I need to transmute, I could have, you know, that's what I should have done. I got so honed in on this line. That's what I should have done this game. After I should have transmuted for an engineered explosives and just stopped worrying. I should have not gained my opponent a life. So let's rewind a little bit. There's the turn where I cast the Hornet Queen. I should have not gained my opponent a life that turn. Potentially even transmuted that turn. No, I should have not the turn where no. Yeah, I think I actually do cast Hornet Queen that turn. Don't gain my opponent a life. My opponent probably doesn't attack. The following turn I transmute this for an engineer explosives, pop this, and attack my opponent for what would have been lethal, right? 2, 5, 9. Yeah. I think that's what I was supposed to do. So I do think I erred there. I'm sure some of you probably had that line already and were like yelling at your screen, but all right. Any reason not to just jam? If I send all the bees, yeah, I'm just gonna jam with everything. I have the Taliaferro West if something goes wrong. I could have like push snap, but we're still fine there. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I think I got kind of honed in on this just setting up against the shadow and kind of keeping it in check with this Grove instead of just eventually just dealing with it instead of, because again, the line I just described would have been much better against Battle Rage, right? Like if we're worried about our opponent finding a Battle Rage and killing us, the best way to insulate us from that experience would have been to transmute for an explosive. So I didn't need this to go find a threat. We had plenty of threats already. We had the additional clues. So yeah, I think I really like that for the record. But anyway, that's round number 1, and I will see you in the upcoming rounds.